Have you ever been caught in the middle of a storm so fierce, so overwhelming, that it seemed like there was no way out? Perhaps it wasn't just a literal storm but a trial in life, one of fear, doubt, or uncertainty, the kind that shakes the very core of your being. The disciples faced such a storm over 2,000 years ago, but their story, an incredible story of Jesus' power, presence, and peace, offers us a lesson in faith over fear that could change everything. The storm they faced wasn't just a test of their endurance, it was a test of their trust. And the answer that came wasn't just the calming of the storm itself, but the revelation of a deeper, unwavering truth. Jesus is with us, even in the darkest moments of our lives. Let's take a moment and imagine this scene. It's late at night, the sky is dark, and the winds are howling as the waves crash violently against the boat. The disciples, some of them seasoned fishermen, are fighting for their lives, struggling to keep the boat afloat. This isn't your typical storm. It's intense, sudden, and terrifying. The kind of storm that rattles the heart and makes you question if you'll make it through. Mark 4 verse 37 tells us, "A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so that it was nearly swamped." Have you ever been in a place where you felt like you were sinking, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually? This storm is a powerful metaphor for the storms we all face in life. Moments when we feel overwhelmed by the chaos around us, unsure of where our next breath will come from. The disciples, in the midst of this chaos, were terrified. They weren't strangers to storms, yet this one was different. They were seasoned sailors, yet the storm was so powerful that they feared for their lives. Mark 4 verse 38 shows us their reaction. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Isn't it interesting? Here they are, panicking in the midst of a deadly storm, and Jesus is asleep in the back of the boat. The disciples' question is filled with disbelief and doubt. "Don't you care, Jesus? Don't you see what we're going through?" We've all had moments like this, haven't we? Times when we've cried out in desperation, wondering if God even cares about our struggles. Times when it feels like Jesus is silent or distant, and we're left questioning if he sees the storms in our lives. But, as we'll see, this question leads to a profound revelation of who Jesus truly is and how he responds in our moments of fear. Now, let's focus on the response of Jesus. He wasn't startled by the storm, nor was he overwhelmed. Instead, he woke up, stood up, and spoke directly to the elements. Mark 4 verse 39 tells us, "He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, 'Quiet, be still.' Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm." Jesus didn't just calm the storm. He calmed the hearts of the disciples as well. This was more than a miraculous display of power over nature. It was a demonstration of his sovereignty over everything. The wind, the waves, the fear, they all had to obey him. But here's the thing. Jesus didn't just calm the storm. He asked a question that would forever alter the disciples' faith. After the storm was calmed, Jesus turned to the disciples with a powerful question. "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Mark 4 verse 40. It wasn't a rebuke, but a challenge to their faith. "Why are you afraid? I'm right here. Do you not trust that I can handle this?" Jesus wasn't minimizing the storm, but he was redirecting their focus. The storm, no matter how violent, was never the real issue. The issue was their lack of faith. The disciples were looking at the storm, the chaos, and the uncertainty, and in doing so, they were missing the reality that Jesus was with them in the boat, and his power was greater than any storm they could face. And here's the lesson for us. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the choice to trust in God's presence and power in the midst of fear. It's the decision to look beyond the storm to the one who calms it. What does this mean for us in our everyday lives? How do we apply this lesson of faith over fear when the storms come? Here are a few reflections. 1. Recognize the presence of Jesus. In every storm, no matter how fierce, Jesus is with us. Even when it feels like he's silent or distant, he's there. Psalm 46 verse 1 reminds us, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." Knowing this can shift our perspective, helping us to see that we are never alone, even in the worst of times. 2. Trust his timing. The disciples were afraid because the storm was so sudden and powerful. But Jesus was never in a hurry. He wasn't caught off guard. Sometimes we panic because we feel like we're running out of time, but God's timing is always perfect. Isaiah 55 verses 8 to 9 reminds us that God's ways are higher than ours, and His timing is beyond our understanding. 3. Faith isn't the absence of fear. It's okay to feel fear. But our faith in Jesus allows us to move forward in spite of that fear. It's not about pretending everything is okay, but trusting that, no matter what happens, God is in control. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 tells us, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." 4. Remember His power over all things. Just as Jesus calmed the storm, He has the power to calm the storms in our lives. Whether it's a financial storm, a relational storm, or a health storm, we serve a God who has power over every circumstance. Matthew 28 verse 18 says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." After Jesus calms the storm, the disciples are left in awe. Mark 4 verse 41 says, "They were terrified and asked each other, 'Who is this?' Even the wind and the waves obey Him." This was a pivotal moment for them. They began to see Jesus in a new light, not just as a teacher, but as the Son of God with authority over everything. Their faith was deepened, not because the storm was over, but because they understood that the one who was with them had the power to overcome any obstacle. What storm are you facing today? What fears or doubts are you holding on to? Remember, just as Jesus calmed the storm for the disciples, He can calm the storm in your life. He's right there with you, in the boat, ready to speak peace into your heart. As we conclude, let's take a moment to reflect on the lesson of faith over fear. When we face storms, it's easy to focus on the chaos around us. But true peace comes when we shift our focus to the one who is greater than any storm. Thank you for joining us today. If this message has touched your heart, we'd love to hear how this story resonates with you. Leave a comment below and share how Jesus has calmed your storm. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful biblical teachings that will inspire and strengthen your faith. And stay tuned for our next video, where we'll explore another life-changing story from the Bible. May you walk in peace and trust in the presence of Jesus, no matter the storm.